Guys, just a quick disclaimer. The operator in the video kindly provided us with the footage and took time out of his own busy schedule to record and explain this to us. So please understand that this was filmed in a unit hangar with not the best image quality or lighting setup. So please be understanding of that. Nonetheless, enjoy the videos and check out the links in the description. I'll see you in the next video.
It's about some equipment that I use for urban reconnaissance. I'm not really going to go into exactly where I work, who employs me. This is not a complete list. Like, this isn't everything that I use or everything that I would take out. Some things wouldn't get taken out, situationally dependent. I am someone who's employed as a dedicated reconnaissance and surveillance asset, as well as a sniper. That's what I specialize in and what the focus of my job is. Most people, when we talk about reconnaissance, right, they just automatically are thinking about this type of equipment here, right? Like recce is LPVO, or a recce is when I'm in the woods, or reconnaissance is when we're using camouflage, which just is very narrow-minded, because reconnaissance happens everywhere in support of all operations, both urban, both rural. You can do direct action in the woods, and you can conduct reconnaissance in the city. This is one of the rifles that I use for work, and I do use a chest rig for work when I'm doing long-range patrol type of stuff. But the reality is this is, like, a long rifle doesn't equal reconnaissance, and a short rifle doesn't equal direct action. You might opt to use this to conduct an assault, and you might opt to use something short like this to conduct reconnaissance, depending on what the mission calls for. Like, my team even has 2 MP7s, and we're doing really low vis stuff, like inside of a vehicle hide or inside of a building in an urban setting. We may opt to use an MP7 in order to stay concealed, but still have some form of protection. Things just don't fit into these neat little boxes of, you know, this is recce and this is urban. It's a little more nuanced than that. So, like, this is what most people picture as their recce kit, right? You have a 14.5-inch rifle with a, you know, variable power optic of some sort, your LPVO, probably with a chest rig with a bunch of mags. You know, I do use this stuff, but typically not in an urban reconnaissance setting. And even in a rural setting, I've done plenty of reconnaissance wearing this in a rural setting, right? Because the patrol length wasn't a long enough distance for me to not carry body armor, or the duration I was going to be out. I didn't have to sacrifice armor to carry a bunch of food, right? So the only time I'm really going to use this is if my patrol distance or length of the operation dictates that I need to shed the weight of armor, right? I would prefer to wear armor over wearing this for the protection's sake, unless the duration of the mission or the duration of the distance that I have to cover necessitates that I shed the weight of armor. Moving over here, this is more typically what you would think of as like a direct action kit. I have done reconnaissance wearing this kit, however. In fact, the first reconnaissance mission that I did, it was before I was a dedicated reconnaissance asset, and I was more of an assaulter, CQB type of role. Literally, I was kitted up in my whole freaking cry pajamas, wearing plate carrier helmet with this rifle set up ready to go, and they needed 2 volunteers to go ahead and conduct surveillance on the structure before everybody else got there. We needed to go right away, so we didn't have time to change. So I ended up taking off my plate carrier and wearing a gray top like this. I wasn't wearing multicam in the vehicle. I had my gun belt on and had my rifle down low on the floorboards along with my helmet, just with a freaking pair of binoculars and a radio, waiting for when the target or the purpose of the mission arrived at the structure, so that we could do what we needed to do. So we ended up taking like a tiny sedan, and we just had to park it in the shadows and hope that nobody walked up close enough to our vehicle to see the dudes in camouflage with rifles watching this building. By no means was that ideal, right? But reconnaissance has been conducted wearing plate carriers and helmets plenty of times with dudes with short rifles. Another thing too is, you know, if you're conducting reconnaissance inside of a city, especially if you're going to do some sort of structure hide, like, you're not just going to walk into that building and assume it's safe. You're going to have to clear that structure for your own safety, and you may have to conduct CQB as part of a reconnaissance. Now, you're not going to be, breaching with explosives and throwing flashbangs in every room, most likely, but you are going to, at least at some level, have to clear that structure and ensure that there's not any threats to you and your team inside of said structure. So as we kind of shift over, what you're doing when you're conducting reconnaissance and surveillance is you are gathering information and reporting that information to the people that need it in support of their mission. It doesn't mean anything if I've observed an HVT coming onto a target or observed the person leaving the building before we're, the team I'm supporting is going to conduct vehicle interdiction. If I can't tell them about it, and so that's where some of this stuff comes in. If we've taken photos of something and need to transmit data, that's where the tough books or using phones, like an ATAC EUD mount type of deal. Or if you're doing something even more low vis, you may literally just have a phone in your pocket. Using that in conjunction with radios or mesh network stuff. In some cases, I've used SATCOMs to transmit information to the team that I'm providing support for. So communications obviously is, very important to reconnaissance. You hear a lot of CAV scouts say that their radio is their weapon, because ideally, they're working in smaller teams. If you engage, your team is so small that you're likely to be eliminated. So the best weapons that you have is your radio. And really the radio is the mission, and that the whole point is transmitting what you have observed to the people that you're supporting so they can use that information. So moving over, going into a little bit of low vis style kit. So, there may be times wearing non-tactical clothing that would blend more with the civilian populace, where you still want some form of body armor, and that's where this Cry LVS would come in. It's a pretty good low-vis body armor option. So always having something to protect yourself with. And this would also be something that I would bring with on every mission, would be this particular fixed blade knife. Not to get into a ton of knife fighting stuff, but this is my preferred knife for that. It has the ring sort of like the Sockpea dagger, so you can grab it from anywhere in your kit. I keep it on the front of my belt line. For concealed, I am using a Glock 19 like pretty much everybody else. I do actually have a staccato for a more overt, gun belt type of handgun. But so anyways, observation equipment, right? Tripods are always awesome to set up cameras, spotting scopes, things like that. Obviously, if you're doing low vis stuff, carrying this stuff from a vehicle into a building can be pretty overt or a little bit unusual, so you may need to conceal these in duffel bags. Or if you're doing vehicle hides, then they never have to leave the vehicle, which is one great thing about a vehicle hide is as long as the vehicle that you've selected doesn't draw attention and you've set up your netting and blackout curtains inside the vehicle appropriately, that can be a really good option. There's definitely some downsides in that you can't have as many people there for support and security. Spotting scopes are great. This one I've got set up with, it's a loophole with the whole Horus reticle inside of it. And I have old school EOTech rangefinder on it. Part of observing and reporting is I have to be able to articulate where the target is, and knowing how far it is from my position as well as the azimuth to it helps me to plot exactly where that is so I can give the grid of what I'm seeing. The clip-on night vision onto a sniper system and then use thermal on the spotting system, and I'm able to see a heat signature with the spotting scope that the night vision, the guy with the night vision can't see. So then having this zero to the internal reticle here allows me to designate the target for the shooter to see what it is that I've located. Both thermals and night vision around, especially in an urban setting, the night vision comes in because it has the ability to see through glass. Thermals are great, but you can't see through glass with them, so that's obviously a problem. Having cameras in addition to spotting scopes is pretty important because I need to be able to communicate. Again, the other half of reconnaissance, there's observing and then communicating what you've observed. Camera system allows me to transmit exactly what I am seeing. This Canon kit that my team was issued with the whole telephoto lens, and then this here is a like night vision adapter. So it's like a monocular that ties into this. I like this much more than actually using clip-ons because it puts the magnification ahead of the tube, so you're not zooming in on like blends in the tube or on pixels in a thermal setup. So it's a pretty cool deal. One thing that you probably don't think about that is pretty important is a pee bottle. Having a wide mouth bottle that's easy to work with and easy to aim into is actually a pretty essential piece of reconnaissance kit, especially in an urban setting. But anyways, that's about it. Have a good one.